The Spring That Came Late One. A city waiting for spring. That year, the city couldn't decide whether it wanted winter or spring. Snow still clung to the shaded corners of sidewalks, and when sunlight touched it, thin streams melted down like quiet tears. The air was clear and cold as glass, carrying the smell of wet soil. In this city, where spring seemed to be running weeks behind, lived Alina, a 27-year-old designer who worked in a small studio near the river. The river was her favorite place. Whenever something troubled her, she walked to the bridge and stared into the dark water, imagining her thoughts drifting away with the current. People often thought Alina was calm, collected, almost unshakable. They never saw the storms inside her. A year had passed since her breakup, and though she pretended she had healed, a tiny crack still remained in her heart. One morning on her way to work, she noticed a poster. Landscape Painting Course, Instructor Marco Kravitz. The name was familiar, though she couldn't place it. A small note at the bottom read, Former Traveling Artist. She smiled softly. Something about that sounded whimsical, almost like a story. Without understanding why, she signed up. 2. The Artist Who Smelled of the Road. Their first lesson was held in a spacious, light-filled studio on the third floor of an old stone building with tall ceilings. The walls were covered in landscapes, mountains, foggy valleys, rain-washed streets of cities Alina had never seen. When he entered, she immediately understood why his name sounded familiar. Marco Kravitz, once a well-known traveling painter who spent years wandering the world, capturing everything he saw. Articles had been written about him, exhibitions shown, and then, suddenly, he disappeared from public life, as if he had stepped out of the frame of his own story. Now he stood before 10 students, holding a box of paints. Tall, warm, dark eyes, slightly messy hair, and he smiled as if he had known each of them for years. Painting is not about your hand, he said. It's about your ability to be honest with yourself. If you're afraid of your own emotions, the painting will be afraid too. Alina stiffened. It felt like he was speaking directly to her. By evening, when most students had left, she stood by the window, looking down at the old courtyard. Marco appeared beside her quietly. You paint as if you're mourning something you're not ready to admit, he said. Alina froze. He had no right to understand her that well. I don't know what you mean, she replied, her voice colder than intended. Of course you do, he said softly. Then he walked away. And for some reason, that tiny exchange stirred something sleepless inside her. 3. Coffee, rain, and first conversations. A week passed. One evening it began to rain, and Alina lingered in the studio. Marco was washing brushes, humming under his breath. You'll get soaked if you leave now, he said. I like the rain, she lied, not sure why. He handed her a travel mug. Cardamom coffee. I take it everywhere. She took a sip, and warmth bloomed inside her, as if she had once stood with him just like this. Impossible, yet strangely familiar. You've traveled so much, she said. Why come back? Marco paused. People get tired of running from themselves, he answered quietly. I thought if I kept moving, farther, faster, the thing that hurt would disappear. But pain, it travels with you. Alina felt something tighten in her chest. You talk like someone who's lost something important. He stared out the rain-streaked window. I lost someone I didn't get the chance to win back. Since then, I can't finish a single painting. Thunder murmured outside, but inside the studio it felt warm, almost safe. Their conversation that night changed everything. 4. What comes without permission. They started staying late after lessons. At first, they talked about art, colors, brushes, distant cities, Prague, Gdansk, Reykjavik. But day by day, the conversations walked closer to the things they usually hid from the world. One evening, sitting on the studio floor, she finally told him about her breakup. I thought love was forever, she whispered. But he left one morning. No explanation. As if everything between us was an illusion. Marco listened carefully, never interrupting. And now you think you can't trust again? I don't know, she admitted. I just don't want the pain again. He nodded. No one does. But if you close the door to both pain and joy, your heart starts to dry, like a tree without water. Their eyes met, and it was already more than conversation. That night, Alina realized something terrifying and beautiful. She was falling in love, slowly, unevenly, but inevitably. 5. The conflict no one saw coming. The next week she arrived early. Marco was standing by a canvas, a half-finished painting of a stormy sea. I want to show you something, he said. 5. The conflict no one saw coming. The next week she arrived early. Marco was standing by a canvas, a half-finished painting of a stormy sea. I want to show you something, he said. The painting pulsed with emotion so raw it took her breath. You've never let me this close to your inner world, she whispered. He turned away. Maybe I shouldn't have. She blinked. What do you mean? He sighed heavily, rubbing his face with both hands. I'm leaving soon. They've offered me a long-term project in Norway. I thought I made peace with my decision. But? Her voice trembled. You showed up at the wrong time, Alina. Her heart clenched. The wrong time? I can't stay. And leaving now means running again. And I'm afraid I'm running from you. Her voice cracked. Then stay, she whispered. Not for me. For yourself. I can't. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The distance between them suddenly felt huge. She stepped toward him and stopped. She wouldn't beg. She wouldn't hold someone again only to watch them disappear. If you need to go, she said softly, then go. I won't stop you. Marco closed his eyes, like someone punishing himself. He took her hands, warm, gentle, apologetic. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let this happen. You didn't let it happen, she whispered bitterly. It just happened. He started to speak, but no words came, and he left first. 6. Silence. The next few days were empty. Alina went to work, completed projects, laughed with co-workers, but the crack inside her widened. Days blurred like watercolor in the rain. She avoided the studio, avoided the river, avoided herself. Then, one morning, a small envelope waited in her mailbox. Alina, I'm leaving today. If you want to say goodbye, come to the studio by 9. If not, I'll understand. Marco. It was 8:47. She stood, frozen, letter trembling in her hands. Go? Not go? She closed her eyes and breathed out. 7. The moment everything changes. She arrived at 8:59. The studio door was slightly open. Marco stood by the window with his backpack. When he turned and saw her, shock flickered across his face. You came. I didn't learn to be honest with myself just to run again, she said. I don't want to lose the chance to say goodbye, even if it hurts. He approached her slowly, more carefully than ever. I thought I wouldn't see you again, he said. I thought so too, she admitted. They stood close, but not touching, the air between them charged, trembling. Marco reached out and took her hand, gently, fearfully. Alina, I'm scared, he confessed. Scared I'll run again. Scared I'll break your heart. Maybe you will, she said, but if we don't even try, it's already broken, because we'll both spend our lives wondering what if. He stared into her eyes for a long time, silent. Then a small, uncertain smile curved his lips, one full of sincerity. I want to stay, he said. For the first time in years, I want to stay." A laugh escaped her, shaky, relieved, full of joy and tears. Then he pulled her into his arms, and it felt like the whole world shrank into one warm point. This both shows the moment everything changed. And their spring came late that year. But when it finally arrived, Alina and Marco were sitting by the riverbank, painting the same landscape, each with their own colors, their own strokes. "It's strange," Alina said. "I've beginnings." "Kind days?" Marco asked. She smiled softly. "Now I'm afraid of missing them." He squeezed her hand. "You know, I realized something," he said. "Traveling is wonderful, but sometimes the greatest journey begins with the person beside you." She rested her head on his shoulder. The Greed flowed gently, sunlight shimmering in the water. No covering, just waking for something new. And touching challenges lay ahead, they faced them together. The spring that came late had focused ahead, and with love with it.